Hi, everyone. It is Angela, and you are listening to Divinely Connected. I am here with your weekly guidance for the week of November 19th through to the 25th. Oh my gosh. Let's say it all together. November is flying by. I'm really excited to see what is coming in this week because we are still in that very much cantankerous energy. Even though we are moving to things being lighter, there's also a lot of full circle moments, meaning like you are recognizing the lessons that have happened, especially during eclipse season, especially through that month of October. There's a lot of clarity coming in, which is really powerful because it allows us to have these epiphanies, these experiences to almost validate what we've went through and encouraging you to move forward. So let's get into it, see what is happening. And just before I get started, I do want to mention the Messages from Spirit in-person events in Sydney, Nova Scotia is officially sold out. That is November 30th. But don't worry, I am in St. Peters, Nova Scotia on December 8th for a live in-person Messages from Spirit evening. All the information's over on my website at angemcclellan.com under the event tab, so go and have a look. All right, let's get into it. So, we do have this feeling of energy increasing because it does feel like we have been a little bit of bottomed out. So, there's almost this kind of feeling of like, well, it can only get better. Right? Which is a very optimistic way of looking at things. And I really love that. I feel like things have been shifting. I think that because there has been so much focus on things being hard and that access of scarcity mindset, that at least this optimism is coming in, that the joy is coming in, the laughter, the type of giggles is coming in because it's almost like that sense of intensity breaker. You know, in my connecting with your spirit guide class, we do talk about joy guides, and this is that exactly that type of energy that they're bringing forward. And so there is a certain type of spirit guides that are um, only their only purpose is to bring joy, and especially in intense seasons, right? And so if we're having a really big episode of grief, or a really big episode or experience, I guess I should be saying, of stress and strain, they will lighten it up. You know, this is the classic fart in church, the classic uncontrollable giggles during a funeral, laughing instead of crying. It's a way that they will alleviate this intensity that we are feeling. And this was almost that exact type of energy. It's kind of like, well, can't get any worse. Like we went through the worst, so it's only up. We're making light of it. And that is so pivotal. I know that it may come across maybe emotionally immature. It may come across as something that isn't so deep, but it is because we couldn't even laugh at it before. It was so heavy and it was so extreme for us that we couldn't even poke fun at it. So the being able to poke fun at it is a reflection of momentum. It is a reflection of moving forward. Okay. There also seems to be, and just remember, because I just flipped that other card, moving forward is not a straight line. Okay. So there's ups and there's downs and there's all arounds and there's two steps forward, one step back. And there's also triggers that are coming in because I do feel like somebody is pissing you off. And it's being we're a little bit irritated, we're a little bit triggered, and we are definitely inconvenienced. And so there's almost a sense of needing to take the step back. But in this case, honestly, feels a little too close to home for you to be able to just easily disconnect. So this is someone that is close to you or something that runs deep in you that's being triggered. And so I'm going to give you almost like a bare minimum advice with this is just don't do anything you can't take back. Okay? Don't say the thing, don't do the thing, don't burn the thing down. Don't do the thing that you can't take back. Because there is this feeling of like, yeah, I understand why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, but you still have to be responsible for who you are and the choices that you make. And so there is almost this feeling of I can go, yeah, you need to go into reflection and we need to see the lesson, but you're too angry for that. So, like, let's just not cause more damage. That seems to be the most sound advice that I can give you in this time. When things then settle down, you will be able to see things clearly. You will be able to see and to reflect and to see almost like the enlightenment or the lesson that comes in, but you're not going to see it when you're going through it. Okay. So you have to love yourself enough to be able to control when you want to kind of burn things down, to say the really mean thing, to cut them out, whatever it is, because that is where you're going to have regret. And most of the conversations that I've had is never that people regret saying what they say, it's how they say it. It's the fact that they lost control. And so really wanting you to have that level for yourself and at least know that about yourself is to go, okay, I'm fuming, so I'm going to remove myself from maybe temptations, so that I am in a space where I can regulate my emotions safely and securely without maybe saying or doing things that you will regret. Okay. There's also new beginnings that are coming in, and it's almost like taking the reins again. There's also this feeling of boundaries coming in, and I'm going to say emotional boundaries in the sense of I'm not going to let somebody else take my peace like they did yesterday. Right? And so that's really the feeling that's coming in because your peace was gone. That's why we were so fired up, right? And so sometimes the boundary is I'm not going to allow it. I'm not going to allow them to get me so riled up. I'm not going to put myself in a situation like that again where I will feel vulnerable, feel attacked, etc. All right. So there are some new beginnings coming in. I think that there needs to be a sit down and intellectually go, what do I want? What is my limit? What can I compromise on? What am I not able to compromise on? And when you kind of set these ground rules for yourself, when you go out into the world, when you're having these different types of exchanges and communications, then you at least have some sort of guideline of what you're willing to compromise on, what you're willing to let in, and what you're willing to not let in. And it really allows you to feel more safe and secure as you're going through these types of interactions. And this can be professional, this can be personal, this can be with yourself, right? Don't forget, we have to have boundaries with ourselves and we hold ourselves accountable and we hold ourselves on task, etc. Okay. And I think that that's going to be really important. There also seems to be an emotional loss coming in this week that really does feel like yeah, it's like difficult. I wanted to say that it stings, but I don't even know if that's the right word. It's almost like this feeling of it's complicated, you know? And so an emotional loss could be what? It can be a departure, it can be rejection, it can be less than perfect outcomes, it can be truth telling, it can be um, things not working out in the ways that we intended. It's not always worst case scenario, guys. Remember that. But it does affect you on that emotional level. Therefore, it is a hit to the emotions. It is the wind taken out of your sail. And I want to say it's complicated because it almost feels like I have mixed feelings about it. So maybe something um maybe we have no relationship with a family member and they depart. Maybe we didn't get the job, but we weren't sure if we even wanted the job. But like it still sucks that we didn't get it or it wasn't offered to us, but like we also didn't know if we wanted it. Like, it has like that mixed type of feeling coming into it, right? And so what I think is important is to let yourself feel the feelings. That is like, listen, us as humans, we have definitely have come up in a time where emotional mental health weren't even on the radar. And for a large percentage of the humans out there, they are walking around never being allowed to have their emotions. Boys can't cry. Girls are too sensitive. Girls can't control their emotions. Boys shouldn't have any feelings besides aggressiveness, you know? And so there's all kinds of ways that the world has told us not to allow our emotions to be part of who we are. But they are just as big of a part as our physical self, right? We are emotional. We have an emotional body, we have a mental body, we have a spiritual body, and we have a physical body, and all are just as important as each other, right? And so there is this feeling of, for the majority of us, we're walking this earth feeling like what I'm feeling is wrong and I shouldn't be feeling it in the first place. And how dysfunctional is that? Because we are an emotional being. It is like literally part of the whole gig of being a human, right? And so there's parts of us that we do not embrace. And by just allowing it is healing it. By allowing yourself to have the emotions is healing, right? And I think that is so important for you to understand. You don't need to know all the things about all the things to heal yourself. By just giving yourself self compassion and stop criticizing yourself and letting yourself go, oh, you know what? I'm having this emotion, and that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. That doesn't mean it's the wrong emotion, that I should be feeling a different emotion. Just allowing yourself to be exactly who you are is so healing on so many levels. So giving yourself the time to navigate that, even if you don't really know how you feel about it, that will help with that, giving it time and space to be. There's also quick changes that are coming in as well. And so it does feel like it's an emotionally draining week because we have emotional tasks happening, but we also have physical tasks happening. There may be extra responsibilities, extra obligations, and there needs to be this sense of balance. And I understand the balance is this fleeting word that we never really get a grasp on. But what I mean when I say balance is checking in with yourself and giving yourself what it is that you need instead of just drilling yourself into the ground. Now, some weeks that may be adequate rest. On some weeks, we're not going to even be able to have adequate rest. But you know what we're going to be able to do? We're going to say, you know what? I'm turning my phone off. Or I'm going to drive from this kid drop off to that kid drop off with no radio on. I'm going to play a game with my kids and see who can be the quietest the longest so that I can have a little mental peace, even if it's only 2.5 minutes long, right? And same with if you are in the corporate world, putting on that do not disturb on your phone, giving yourself an hour uninterrupted, giving yourself an hour without any devices, maybe even like dimming our stimulants like radio and music and lights and to-do lists and reminders and constant scrolling and one thing to the next and skipping commercials and TikTok that gives 5-second hits of dopamine. Bringing in a little bit of a break mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It goes a really long way. I'm also going to say there is a lot of gossip coming in this week. There's a lot of ego, ego, ego. And this can be very dangerous because one, it's all BS, right? But I think that when we are in ego, especially when we're gossiping, we tend to do it with the mindset or the feeling or the outcome of us being better than, feeling better than the other person that we are talking about, bashing, criticizing behind their back. It gives you this falsehood of superiority. And there's this feeling of falling off that pedestal. And I think that it is important for you to kind of check yourself before you fall hard. Right. And so we don't have to agree with everything that people do, and we don't have to agree with their life choices. But I think that it does nothing good for us to be gossiping, to be breaking the sense of what's the word that I'm looking for? It doesn't it doesn't do anything that you want for your character. It actually takes your energy and it actually lowers your vibration. So it's not only it may not even be someone in your circle. You may not be breaking their confidence, that's the word, but that's the feeling that goes through your system. And it may feel good in the moment, but that doesn't last and it's also not aligned with truth. So I would just be mindful. This is also a reflection. If you're not finding yourself gossiping, what are you doing that's in that ego, right? Overindulging, overeating, over drinking, overspending, burning the candle on both ends, leaning into the vices a little bit too hard. So that would also be reflective of that overindulging, that type of over gossiping, that ego sense is more and more and more and more and more. Nothing's ever enough, right? And so wherever you kind of fall in that spectrum, I think, oh, we want to quit before we get ahead because I can see where this is going and it's not good. And it's not good. All right, I'm going to leave that with you. This is your weekly guidance for November 19th through to the 25th. Don't forget to come back next weekend for your weekly guidance. I will see you then.